Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. And I want to focus on achieving efficiency in local government. And in doing so, what do I mean by efficiency? It means, for me, delivering the best, most wide-reaching outcomes for the least use of available resources of all kinds. And it's not simply a financial measure. It's about what the customers, the people in the area concerned, get from their councils. Now, it has to be qualified by circumstance. Each council has a different circumstance. So, for example, if it costs more per pupil for school transport in the Highlands than it does in Glasgow, that's not a measure of the relative efficiencies of the respective councils. Clearly, that is an indication of the very different circumstances in which these councils find themselves. During the course of the inquiry that the committee has been conducting, and I, of course, joined the committee with others in September, it's been clear that councils are picking up on the greater freedom that they've been given since the government in 2007 took almost all the ring fencing off the finance that they get from the government. Previously, some 25% or thereby of their finance was in nearly 200 separate streams of spending, over which they had relatively little, almost no discretion. Quite different now, and different councils have responded in different ways. And I think councils too welcome the fact that their share of the overall budget that we in this Parliament get has actually risen under this government. It's not as much money as we would wish to provide, but we know there are ways in which we could do that by changing the environment in which this Parliament operates. But that's not the core of today's debate. I think one of the key things as the committee has gone and engaged with communities across Scotland, and I've found that both interesting and challenging, I have to say. We've had absolutely excellent examples of what councils could be doing and excellent examples of what councils are doing. There are plenty of good ideas out there. Perhaps in one area, however, we've seen less than we might, and that is in the area of service sharing. And I want to illustrate that deficit with reference to one of the two councils within my constituency, and that's the Moray Council. I represent a part of that. This independent and Tory-led council has resisted SNP councillors' demands to look at service sharing over a number of years. So what's the result today? The result today is that the independents and Tories are closing 7 out of 8 libraries in Moray. Quite astonishing. We're removing all the arts funding, absolutely flabbergasting, and they're looking to remove head teachers from a significant number of their posts. It really is avoidable. Let's cut overheads by looking at sharing. Let's not cut frontline services that are valued by the people in Moray. Now, I have no particular evidence that it's as egregious an example anywhere else. Maybe true, maybe not. But that leads me neatly to the issue of benchmarking, because benchmarking is an opportunity for identifying areas for improvement by looking at the achievements of others. And I'm absolutely delighted that COSLA has taken the initiative and established a cross-cutting benchmarking framework for our councils. The evidence that the committee has received has highlighted to me and to others a degree of confusion and a number of fears about what this benchmarking might mean. Some elected members appeared to see benchmarking as simply another way for external commentators and councillors to knock lumps off councils. And I think that's not an unreasonable fear for people to have. But if that proves to be the key focus of benchmarking, and the use of the data that are made available as a result of the introduction of benchmarking, it will be a very much a failed initiative. Good benchmarking starts with normalisation, basically standardising the way the data comes into the models so that we can start to make valid comparisons between quite different circumstances, so that a council that feels that it has an opportunity for improvement in one policy area can use the benchmarking model to find out who it is they should be copying, and in turn probably to be copied in some other policy area where they are doing well. Now, I don't think we need to have all the data about every council's every bit of activity. What we certainly need in the benchmarking model is the information about the best, and to have enough information to be confident that it actually is the best, so that copying is relevant and of value. And by the way, benchmarking isn't just about comparing with councils in Scotland. We should be comparing wherever, anywhere in the world. Let's benchmark and see if we can copy, because that's one of the key ways of making progress. We can certainly deliver a great deal to the public sector by benchmarking. And business can learn from the public sector, but we also can learn from business. Make it as broad as possible. Presiding Officer.